All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Soft Elbows. I'm Steve. You can see Abby over there. You can see our guest, Maria Hayden, to what is this? My right, your left. Someone's directional. She's the one who's not me or Abby. And also, over one of my shoulders is Lucy. She's not going to stay on screen the whole episode because this is a weird way for me to sit, but I just wanted her to say hello. She's as apathetic to this recording as she is to everything else. Maria, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Happy Sunday to everyone. Happy to be here. This is great. It seems like it's going to be a lot of fun.
We sure hope so. It was not something we usually promise, but you know what? I like our chances today. I like our chances.
Perfect.
Um, we're going to get to talk about Maria's story in a little bit because it is a great story. It is an inspiring story. How about that? Probably not all great for Maria to experience, but great for us to hear about in the post uh, part of this experience. Yikes. I'm going to do better the rest of the show. But before we get to that,
don't make promises you can't keep,
I
Steve.
know. Before we get to that, let's talk about the Arnold, which Maria did compete at. We're going to talk about that too. There were a ton of local lifters at the Arnold. And Abby, you commentated. You were like on the mic for the live stream. How was that?
It was so much fun actually. So like it was funny. So they had me do I think 8 sessions total. They started me out over on the university platform at like 8 a.m. And I had no idea what I was doing. No one really gave me instructions. They're just like, yeah, show up. You're gonna be doing it with Chad Vaughn. And I was like, okay, cool. Get to meet a guy named Chad. That's great.
Did you not know who Chad Vaughn was?
I knew that his name was like famous within weightlifting, but did I know that he was a 2-time Olympian at the time? No. I pay zero attention to men's weightlifting, and I'm sorry about it.
This is what happens when they let children be the commentators.
Just a big 30-year-old child over here. Anyway, so yeah, and we ended up like it ended up being a lot of fun. Was able to kind of not be like such a weenie with it. As I got further into the session. And honestly, like the university sessions were really fun because they had us like right behind the judges and right in front of all of their like classmates. Like all of the university kids were out there. They had signs, they were getting rowdy, they were heckling the judges. Was I heckling the judges? Maybe. And it was a really good time. And then when they had me on the main stage, I did most of the 64s, 71s, and 76s on Saturday, including the A sessions, which was really fun for me. But they had us in like this literal like closet green room type of thing that was like off in the back, like the back of the building where USADA usually drags people to test them. So like we were completely isolated from everything, which was interesting, but it was still fun. It was still a good time, and it was really fun getting to do the 71As. And as much as it kind of like stung me a little bit because that was the session I was supposed to be in, it was cool to be able to show up for my friends and be like, oh yeah, look, there's Adrian. She just came back from injury, da 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 da, and like everyone got a backstory throughout that session. And so like that was really fun for me to be able to like kind of give back to my friends, so to speak.
I want to hear more about the dungeon layer, whatever they had you in, because I went back there to find you at one point,
and you gave me sweet potato chips, and I'm very grateful for that. I was starving.
Happy to help. But before we get to that, I want to ask you about your thoughts on the stages where they had the university age group there, and they also had some of the open lifters there as well. There were some sessions there. Describe for the folks who weren't at the Arnold the difference between those two stages and the stages where everybody else competed.
Yeah. So the main ballroom is where like the open was held, and so it's this big giant ballroom. Like if anyone's ever been to a hotel and you see like this big conference rooms, it was like that, and like they've got these cool neon lights, which is one of the reasons I love the Arnold, because like the venue just feels legit. It's pretty, like there's lights, it's cool, and like your standard you saw meet plus lights. So it's cool. The universities is interesting because if you walk out of the ballroom and go down the hallway, there's like these like big alcoves like just cut out of the hallway. And so they had the university stages in one of those big alcoves. So it was almost like a ballroom that wasn't sealed off, so to speak. And like you're just kind of out there. And so the crowds of people are walking by. The university students are like mobbed right by your platforms, and then there's you lifting on those stages.
I mean, I haven't lifted on those stages. Maria, have you ever? I know you've done the Arnold a couple times. Have you ever lifted on that segment of the stages?
I'll just shout the whole time. This was actually my very first time at the Arnold.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So no, I've never been on those stages, but I loved walking by them, and I would love to be in that atmosphere.
Would you? Okay.
I would personally, yes.
I agree with her. It's very unconventional, and maybe for like a very new lifter with a lot of comp anxiety, or somebody who just, they really like peace and quiet when they're training, not for them. But like, I would love that. Like, I'd get out there, I can find a focal point anywhere, and it would be so much fun. It was just so hype.
I imagine it's what it would be like if you were lifting in an airport terminal or like a shopping mall, where
that's actually a really good way to describe.
People are walking by, and some of them care, and some of them don't. Some of them are like screaming at something, and I don't know. I feel like there would be a lot of stimuli at play.
Very, very overstimulating.
It sure is. But back when I did gymnastics at JMU, we had car wash fundraisers, and we'd be on the side of the road at a gas station, and we'd be on the corners advertising for ourselves. And every time there was a red light, we would literally do flips across the road in the crosswalk.
So cool.
Which kind of reminds me of the Arnold in that way, because lots of stimuli, kind of dangerous, could get hit by a car. But we loved it. I loved it. So I think I would also love being on those stages.
So you've been training for that stage your entire life, is what you're saying?
Absolutely.
That's funny.
All right. Let's talk about this dungeon layer setup they had. I agree with you, Abby. I thought that your setup when you were doing the commentating on the uni stages was perfect, right? Because you're there, you're seeing it live, you're giving, feedback or analysis or whatever in real time. But like in the closet, the cloffice, whatever we're calling it, like you were just watching it on TV like everybody else. Like I would have loved for them to have had you guys at a table. And I guess then maybe you can't like see all three stages at once, but like pick a session and have you guys do analysis there rather than have you guys go back and forth. I feel like that's a better, like, I don't know, environment than you guys just like being the same level removed as anybody watching at home. Like,
yeah,
you didn't need to go to the Arnold. You could have just done the live stream commentating from your couch.
Correct. So like that was one thing I didn't love about it, but at the same time, there were some moments at the university stage with like you guys know Lindenwood University, they had a huge contingency. They do every year. Like this is their Super Bowl at Lindenwood, and it's really cool that they do that and they like hype up this meet to this regard. But they were so loud at some points that like Chad and I couldn't hear each other on the mics, like in our headsets, because we had these big old headsets with microphones to like reduce the outside noises, but like we couldn't hear anything. And like I can only imagine that parents on the live stream for that would have been like, this is nonsense. And so like I understand kind of why they had to do it, because like it could get pretty loud in the ballroom. But yeah, I mean it was a little it wasn't great being isolated. And also like I'm a talker, and so like I had a lot of fun.
That's not what I've heard.
I liked being able to talk to some of the parents like at the university, and like some of the college kids that were there. I was like, how many Arnolds have you been to? How long have you been training? And like they were excited to talk to somebody from USAW. And like I had a parent DM me afterwards and was like, it was really cool you took the time to interact with us. And I was just like, I literally just like make memes. So like but it was cool, right? And so I liked the universities better from an interaction standpoint, and I think we could, USAW should consider that in the future. But it would come at a cost of like the production itself, and there might be points where like the audio is kind of crappy.
I don't know. It sounds like a setup issue. Like I just gotta figure like in 2025, there's a solution to this problem.
Right.
We can have our cake and eat it too, or something.
Yeah.
No? Let's real quick before we move on from the Arnold. Let's talk about some of the big lifts, and I mean big lifts. One of our recent guests, Big Meech, snatched 150 kilos, and then had somehow more energy left and clean and jerked 200 kilos. And as someone who attempted to deadlift 200 kilos last week and failed, I don't understand how that's a thing that people do. Do you have thoughts on the massive amount of weights that man put over his head?
It was pretty awesome, and like as usual, he makes it look really easy. And like it's cool too with Meech because I know he's like in the progress of losing weight. Like he's pretty open about that on social media.
Yeah.
And so to see that he like can withstand his gains, while he's in theory at a caloric deficit or at a more of a deficit than he's used to. I think it's really impressive that he's able to, you see his lifts get better over time. And so, very proud of my friend, proud to call him a friend, exciting stuff.
Maria, what was it like the first time that you clean and jerked 200 kilos?
Hello? I know. I mean, what have I done with 200 kilos? Perhaps I have rolled it across the gym floor. That's probably about it. And then tried my best to stop it before it went rolling into a wall. But yeah, that's my experience with 200 kilos. Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, but like everyone needs goals though, right? So like one day.
Correct. Maybe a back squat.
Sure. All right. CHFP, they sent a ton of people to the Arnold, but two people in particular that I thought had really good performances. Britlin Wall, who's coming back from a pretty significant injury on the national stage, went 5 for 6, 68.84, I believe. And James Sager, who is just like I feel like he should be in Hollywood on a movie, like many movies, or just like a billboard somewhere. I don't know. He's a good looking dude, and he lifts really well, and he lifted really well at the Arnold. He went 116, 161, and the 61 was just so good.
They all looked really easy, and I owe him an apology because I commentated his session. And on Instagram, his Instagram handle is @JimmyBoy, and I may or may not have called him Jimmy for the entire live stream podcast, or the live stream cast. So James, I'm so sorry. I didn't know.
He's a nice guy. I'm sure he's forgiven you. His parents, however, will hold.
They're gonna throw darts at my face for centuries.
Forever. Did either of you make it to the demo area? Not the demo area, but the area where they were giving out all sorts of stuff, some of which was legal, some of which I'm sure was not. Did you guys make it in there? The Expo Center?
Unfortunately.
Can I tell you guys my favorite thing that they were trying to sell there? Chris and I were walking through there on like Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday, I don't remember. And there was a lady there who was trying to sell us water. And it was special water because, as she explained to us, and obviously I was taking notes, most water hydrates your cells on the outside. But this water, the water that she was selling, it hydrated your cells on the inside. And I don't know what that means, but it sure sounded cool. So she offers us samples of this intracellular hydrating water, and she so Chris and I we drink it, and then she was like, well, what do you think? And we were like, I don't know, it tastes like water. Anyway, shout out to that lady because she had a really hard job. I don't know how much sales she did that weekend, but
Miss Bobby Boucher,
I don't know. Listen, at least I was confident that what she was having me sample wasn't going to make me, pop on some USADA.
You never know, Steve. You really never know, honestly, with that expo. The only thing I trusted in there is the rain. But you know what? I don't even trust them anymore because they didn't even have orange. They didn't have the best flavor.
Maria, what did you try?
Okay, I was saying Ben and I flew to the Arnold, so we walked through the expo knowing we're not doing any of this. We're not getting anything. We have carry-ons. That's it. But we did get to watch someone lift in the cage, which was really cool.
Those are
And
cool.
that was pretty exciting. He back squatted 800 for 6 reps.
Ew.
And that was my favorite part.
Who was
the
it?
whole thing. Well, unsure. It was a power lifter, and he was in the cage. For those of you who don't know, I'm 4'11". So my view at the expo was pretty much people's backs.
Yeah.
I certainly could not see, but they had a screen at the top, and I could kind of see on that screen. And Ben held my phone up and over everyone else, and so I kind of could see from that angle. But all that's to say, I have no idea who it was.
Oh, good.
Sorry to say.
I posed this question to Maria earlier, but Abby, now I'll ask you, what was it like the first time that you moved 800 pounds in any direction whatsoever?
I'm trying to convert what that is in kilos so I can kind of make sense of what that number is.
Abby. Okay.
No, but listen, I'm trying to make it
generously say it's 300 kilos.
300 kilos. That's my total plus somebody else's total together. So I don't know. I've never even, I don't think I've ever seen 300 kilos loaded onto a barbell, much less touched it. So I genuinely couldn't quantify that for my brain.
This is like when people are like, oh yeah, no, this rich guy, he makes $40 billion a year, or some athlete, they just signed a $500 gajillion contract. I don't know. I felt bad spending $20 at Chipotle yesterday, so
Did you just call it Chipotle?
Huh?
Did you just call it Chipotle?
Yes, I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong.
You are wrong. It's Chipotle,
okay.
Not Chipotle.
Chipotle.
Oh no.
You sound like that reminds me of how my 70-year-old aunt from Brooklyn would say it.
Yeah. Chipotle,
Maria.
I bet your aunt is a lovely lady.
She is.
Okay, so I take that as a compliment. Thank you so much.
That works. We'll call it a compliment.
All right.
Just so I don't diss my own aunt up here on this podcast.
For all 4 of our viewers.
Yeah.
All right. Do anybody else have any more thoughts on the Arnold? Either things they were trying to sell or things that were lifted, things that we can't quantify with our brains?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
All right.
I would like to put the Arnold behind us.
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
Wow. Abby.
Strong feelings.
Do you have something you need to talk about?
No, just it's one of those things where it's just and Maria, I'm sure you might have felt this at some point during your recovery too. It's Sunday. I'm about to have surgery on Friday for my elbow. As it turns out, not only do I have arthritis, but I have bone fragments stuck in my elbow joint. So everyone take one good look. This is the last time you're gonna see my elbow like this. It's gonna look like this the next time you see it. But there's a lot of FOMO that comes along with not being able to do something. And it's not like this one's a little different because it was my choice to pull out. But what's not my choice is not being able to train the way that I usually do and getting to train with my friends. And so there's a lot of FOMO along with it. And so with that, I'm excited to be past the FOMO stage, which is going to be longer. But I have a feeling I'm going to feel FOMO for a lot of events for a pretty good amount of time. And I'm ready to not feel that way.
I was saying that resonates with me, and that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. We're going to get more into Maria's journey very briefly. But before we do that, because last time, and this is on me, we waited until the end to give our announcements. And I sometimes our listeners maybe don't listen till the very end. So we're gonna do some forecasting before the end, so we make sure we get the news to the people who need it. We got a couple of events coming up in the very near future. Abby, I'm sure will be continuing to advertise all of this stuff on the DMV weightlifting page. But we got the Mach 10 liftoff coming up March 29th. East Coast Gold Spring Fling, where Big Jake allegedly allegedly is going to lift. That's going to be
Steve.
April 12th. What's that?
So Steve, allegedly.
Yeah, no, I am. I signed up. We get CHFP is hosting a combined level 1, level 2, April 24th to the 27th. That is only open for female coaches, female lifters. If you are interested, sign up. That's a pretty rare opportunity. I've not heard about that before. I'm sure it's been done, but that's anyway rare for this area, rare in general to be able to knock out both your L1 and your L2 in one long weekend. But that's coming up that same weekend, April 27th. Cap City is going to happen. That's always a great meet. The folks at DC Weightlifting do a great job hosting that. I believe it'll be another 1 day, 2 platform meet. And they are still accepting people signing up for that. So sign up if you have not. And then not a traditional meet, but something we have talked about on the show in the past when Jake Rowell was on, Lift PD, which is a nonprofit group that raises funding for providing free weightlifting, free exercise classes for people with Parkinson's. Lift PD is hosting a Max Clean event on May 18th. That'll be in Richmond. And we will post some more information about that as we get closer. But the important things are, if you like cleaning lots of weight, or if you like cleaning whatever you can clean, or if you're like me, and the one time I competed in this event, they, bless their hearts, gave me like 9 tries and I still couldn't stand up, but they cheered for me anyway. If you just like being cheered for, it's a great place to go and give it your best. You can sign up to lift. You're supposed to only get 3 attempts, but to clean as much as you can. And if you want to volunteer, it's a great meet to volunteer at. It's a great venue that they have. It's in the back of like this like bar / distillery. It's really cool. And if you just want to donate, that's cool too. You can either make a flat donation. You can find an athlete who's competing and you can like donate a certain dollar amount per kilogram that they are able to clean. And the money all goes to a great cause. Again, we'll put more information about that out as it gets closer, but I wanted to pump that out because they just recently released the date for that. And on the last bit of announcements, the bid window has closed for the WSO championships, which are going to be September 20th and 21st. That's important news for everybody listening to this show and everybody in the DMV, because once we select who is going to host this year's competition, then we can open up the registration gate. Is it a gate? Is it a garage? We're going to open the window. I don't know. Whatever it is, we're going to open. We're going to let people start signing up, and then we'll have a great time as we always do. Hopefully, Abby, we're going to pressure Brian into having us make a choice, and so that we can announce who's going to host on the next show. He doesn't know that I just committed him to that, but you're welcome. Yeah, that's all I got. Do you have any other announcements? Anything I missed, Abby?
I don't think so. I think you got everything. Yeah.
Maria, do you have any announcements?
I said I don't have any announcements, but on a personal note, I signed up for Cap City. Yeah. So I will be there, and I'm excited.
It is exciting.
I think I know one of the reasons why you're excited, and we're going to get to that. But if it's all right with you guys, I want to tell you guys a story. It's a story about a young lady named Maria, and it's a great story. There's going to be some highs, there's going to be some lows, but I promise you guys this is a great fucking story. And without further ado, if you don't mind, I'm going to tell this story now. This story didn't begin in 2021, but for all intents and purposes, this was like the origin of the arc that we're going to go on. In 2021, this very talented, very strong lifter named Maria Hayden, some of you may have heard of her. I don't know. She went to nationals that year, and she got first place in the snatch. She got second place in the clean and jerk. She got second place overall, which I don't know, Abby, I can certainly say I have never come close to doing. And I know you've come much closer than me, but you can speak certainly to the testament of like how tough that is to do. I got a head nod. I'll take it.
Sorry.
That's all right. After that nationals, she kept lifting, kept doing amazing things. And in the 2023 nationals, she totaled 172, which was a 5 kilogram improvement from the year before it. And things were looking good. And then suddenly things were not looking as good. In August 2023, she got diagnosed with a slap tear in her shoulder. She had to go undergo surgery, and she was supposed to only be out 6 months. I say only, but like 6 months is an eternity if you like do this thing every single day, and it's like just like a big part of who you are and your identity, and like it's hard to let that go for 6 months. And that would have been tough enough as it was, except Maria developed frozen shoulder syndrome. We're going to have her explain what that is. It does not sound fun. And I can tell you definitively it was not fun for her because it delayed her recovery process. Her mobility starts to return around April, May 2024. And then she starts snatching and clean and jerking again in August of 2024. And then, and you knew I wasn't going to miss an opportunity to plug this, she competed in the WSO championships. Yeah, see, Maria's excited. And she did very well. She won her weight class. She went 6 for 6. It was a big thing for her. What is that? 13-ish months after surgery to come back and be able to lift weights at all again over your head, much less compete and win and do very, very well. And then there was another minor setback. In January, she kind of like tweaked her back a little bit, but that didn't deter her because Maria doesn't give up. Maria doesn't stop. No, she says, nay, I'm still going to compete at the Arnold. And she did compete at the Arnold like 6-ish months after regaining full mobility in her shoulder. She competes at a national event. She did very well. She had a top 10 finish at the Arnold, which again, I've never done. Abby, yes, Abby?
Yeah, I have. Sorry.
Again, you can attest to how difficult
it's still
that
awesome. It's still awesome. Yeah.
This is not something you just like walk out on stage and do.
Right.
It's incredible. And I think, I'll say it right now, I think she's going to qualify for nationals at Cap City.
I would agree.
I said it. Maria, the star of this story, was that a fair recount of kind of how the last year and change have gone for you?
That was a fair recap of my shoulder story. It seems like such a short amount of time when you explain it all in under like 2 minutes. But to me, it felt like absolutely forever. Especially because before that, I would say my pain started that February. So I was dealing with the tears in my shoulder from February to August when I had the surgery, and my training had been modified for all of that time as well. Like not super modified. I was still able to do most things, but there was definitely a lot of pain every day. And some weeks I could not train because I couldn't lift my arm. So it was very up and down from January till August when I finally got the surgery in August. And then after that, yeah, even crazier things happened. Part of me regretted the surgery. I was like, oh my gosh, I'll never get past this. But we can get into that.
When you kind of started feeling pain around like January, February of 2023. When you were going into nationals of that year, did you have a sense like, okay, surgery's like it's coming, or was it something you thought you'd be able to just like work through and just kind of like the aches and pains that lifters have to go through when they train consistently?
I think in my heart, I knew surgery was coming, but in my head, I couldn't think that way because that's not a helpful way for me personally to think. So I was just like, all right, I'll just keep doing these rehab exercises, keep doing this. It's probably just my inflamed bicep tendon because I've had that in the past. And then after nationals, my pain will subside and I will be on my merry way. But deep in my heart, I knew it was more than that, but I couldn't think that way.
Yeah. And I mean, I think any competitor, much less a high level competitor like yourself, I think you just as a means of survival, if nothing else, you can't you can't be successful being like, well, I don't know. Like, so you have the surgery and again, like 6 months away from something that you love, something that you do all the time, like that would have been like, I imagine, challenging enough as it was. But at what point after the surgery did you get the sense that like the recovery wasn't going maybe the way that you thought it would, or that they told you it would, or that just something was off?
I would say about 2 months in, I knew something was off. I distinctly remember talking to my teammates, Troy and Vic, And my teammate / fiance Ben was with me too. And I was saying that I feel like I'm not progressing in the way that I need to be progressing. And Ben was like, no, Maria, you're doing so well. Your physical therapists are saying you're doing great, all this stuff. And I was like, okay, that's true. They are saying that. But again, in my heart, I was like, I don't think I'm being dramatic. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. I've never had surgery before, so I don't really know. But I kind of knew something was wrong then. Then at my 3-month appointment with my doctor, he does not have the best bedside manner, not gonna lie. I went in and he was just like appalled at how little my shoulder could move. And he said at 3 months, I should have had full range of motion and should be able to like get back into the gym and start slowly progressing towards lifting again. And that was around Thanksgiving time. Meanwhile, at this time, I couldn't even lift my arm to 90 degrees. So I was stuck with my arm like pretty much down all day. And that's when the realization set in that it was going to be bad.
Dude, that's scary. Like,
It
I'm
was
sitting
horrible.
here like absolutely mortified for your situation. That's terrible.
Yeah, and I don't want you to feel scared.
No.
Your
This
situation's
isn't
going to
about
be better
me.
than mine.
This is me
Okay, I
empathizing
know.
for you.
Yes, thank you. But I know you're about to get surgery, so I don't want to like put bad juju out
No.
there, but
No,
yeah.
the timing, honestly, the timing of us having you on and talking about your story is the best possible thing for me because I'm just like, look at this success story. Like, I've seen Maria have now 2 great meets since she had to take time off. So this is very positive for me. So please don't
Okay,
feel
good.
like, any
I'm
type of way
glad.
there.
Yeah, I hope in the end that it is a positive story. But yeah, it's just we're at the negative part right now. It
Right.
gets better.
We're coming out of it. I promise. I promise we'll come
Trust the
out of it.
process.
But before we do, because I just it at least to me it seems like a relatively unique thing. Can you describe what frozen shoulder syndrome is and what it felt like for you to be dealing with it? Like that I don't know how to even like put a like we were talking earlier about like how do we contemplate 800 pounds in our head. Like I don't know how to contemplate like that type of thing.
Yeah. So it's called technically, I don't know if you can hear my dogs. They just came in from a walk. Hey guys. Here's one. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Adhesive capsulitis is what it's called technically. And
Okay.
basically what that is the scar tissue kind of just overgrew around my shoulder, causing it to be stuck in one spot. And that can happen for multiple reasons. Either your surgeon was too rough in there, or they say also if you have like I don't know, if you heal too quickly, for instance, it just overgrows in there. And basically I can't describe it. It's just like you try to lift your arm and you can't. I simply don't know how to describe it differently than that because it made no sense to me either. I would lift my arm and be like, why won't it go higher? Why can it not? And then I would have other people tug on my arm to like try to lift it and they couldn't do it either. So I remember going to physical therapy and I'm laying on my back on the bed. My physical therapist is on the bed, like his knee is on the bed. He's using all of his leverage to push my arm down and it's just not going. And meanwhile, I'm like on the verge of tears because they say it's a very highly painful recovery because you have to break the scar tissue. And I can attest to that. It was excruciating. And I just remember beads of sweat coming off my physical therapist's face as he's trying to push my arm down. And he's like twice the size of me and can't break through the scar tissue to get my arm to move. And then you can also see I have videos of me hanging on a bar and like you can see I'm hanging and gravity's working, but my shoulder is not extending. So all that's to say is like it's hard to explain. I don't really understand it because I don't understand how I couldn't get my shoulder to move, but I guess the scar tissue just really held it in place as a protective mechanism.
So when you went under surgery initially, I don't know if they told you in advance or right after it was done, but the initial timeline was about 6 months before they expected you might be able to be back, doing something with a barbell or doing something with movement that you're accustomed to. And then you have the setback with the shoulder, and then it ends up being April, May-ish of 2024 before you actually start getting some range of motion back and are able to start, doing things with a barbell and otherwise. How was that process, especially kind of having the process extended, prolonged, longer than you thought? How was that for you, mentally and emotionally? And I mean that not, it would be tough for anybody to go through that, but I mean, especially somebody who your entire life, you were a high level gymnast, you've been athletic your entire life, and to have that kind of outlet, temporarily taken away, and then the duration of that removal extended. How was that for you going through that?
It was terrible. I, at this point, was not even living day to day. It was truly minute to minute. And I tried to find a lot of other things to distract me. So I got a second job, got 2 dogs, and who are now playing on the ground if you hear scuttling around. Guys, chill. And I just tried my best to say, okay, this isn't forever. This isn't forever. It's just for now. But that was very difficult for me because at some points I truly thought it was forever. I was like, well, I don't know if my shoulder will ever get back to normal. But again, just kind of like how pre-nationals, I had to tell myself it wasn't that bad. Post-surgery, I just kept telling myself, it's not forever. It's not forever. I will get through this. And that was my mantra throughout recovery. But I mean, it's not like I was positive every single day. I would say 50-50, like half of the time I was very negative. 25% of the time I was apathetic. And then 25% of the time I was positive, I would say, or positive, as positive as you can be in that situation. So I get it. Like, I know at that time, like, positive vibes would not have worked for me. It's like, no, this is a really depressing time, because not only was my outlet in weightlifting affected, but I couldn't live my daily life. I couldn't do things around the house or at my job. And it was, so just trying to be realistic with it, while also not going into a deep, dark hole of depression.
Well, and I was going to ask you on the days or in the times when you were in a negative space or even in an apathetic space, were there things like techniques you tried or things you did, things that helped kind of move you back towards being, positive adjacent, if not, positive?
Yeah, I would say getting my second job helped me because I find it really fulfilling. I teach English to adults in the immigrant community in Harrisonburg.
That's really cool.
So I love that. And obviously, like, walking the dogs honestly really helped me, because it got me outside, it got me moving, and I wasn't moving in the way that I normally moved with weightlifting, but I was still outside and reaping those benefits. I also got really into one-arm spike ball. And so I'd play with Ben and then my sister and her husband, because we're neighbors. And we had a little spike ball tournament going on. And so really just finding ways to move my body, that has always helped me. I'm not so much of a still meditation girly. I definitely have to be moving to move through my feelings. And that's always been the case for me. So just finding different patterns of movement that felt good and like got my heart rate up, got me out of my mind, really helped me.
That's great. As you approached WSOs, that was your first competition back, is that right?
Correct.
So as you approached that, I mean, competing was not new to you. You had done it many times before. You had done it on a high level. You had done it in many different sports. But did you find the run up to that competition any different than some of the ones before it? And if so, how was it different?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It was completely different. I had zero goals besides get on the platform, don't get hurt. I was just super happy to be here or there at that point. I was just super happy to be there. And yeah, I was in a space where I was just feeling super grateful. Nothing else really, just taking it all in for what it was, since it had been over a year since I'd competed. And truly because I honestly did not know if I would ever get back to the barbell. So yeah, it was completely different. I didn't peak or anything for it. I was just training and then said, oh, everyone's doing this meet. Let's get back out there and do it. So I just hopped in and did it, and it was amazing.
That's great. And then, so you keep rehabbing, you keep progressing. It came time for Arnold. And I know from talking to you in the back that you had a little bit of a flare up with a back issue. So you couldn't go maybe as all out at the Arnold as you were planning to. But let me tell you, as somebody who got a up close and personal view of your performance at the Arnold, it was super impressive and super inspiring, because for someone who just experienced everything we've just talked about in the last 15, 20 minutes or whatever it's been, to go through all of that and to be as absolutely fearless as you were at the Arnold was so cool. Like, I don't know if you guys are both high level competitors, so maybe you guys take this stuff for granted, but like the ability to miss, not have that derail you, and in your case, Maria, not only did it not derail you, completely did not shake you from the task at hand, which was you wanted to go out on that platform and attempt a number. And it didn't matter what had happened in the warmups, what had happened in the previous attempts. You were going to do that thing, and you were going to do it confidently. And it was just so cool to see. And I did you have an appreciation for what was happening in the moment? Were you surprised by how like confident you were despite everything that you were kind of carrying in the background, or was this just like a thing that like you've done a million times and so it was just like another competition for you?
It's really funny that you should say that fearless comment, because I promise you, I was so nervous. I don't think I've ever been that nervous for a competition before. And I don't think it was, I don't know what it was, but I was shaken in my boots, absolutely shaken in my boots. But I'm glad I gave the perception of confidence and fearlessness. That's great to hear. But yeah, like you were saying, I had been snatching upper 60s and clean and jerking upper 80s. And I clean doubled 95 like about a month previous, but then I injured my back and I didn't lift for 2 weeks, and then I was slowly working my way back up. So, yeah, that was all going on in the background. And so when I got to the Arnold, previous to my back injury, I wanted to make nationals at the Arnold. And then my coach Christian advised me, hey, make some lifts, get out of there healthy, we'll do another meet. So that kind of did shift my perspective. And then it, lent itself well to appreciating the moment. I would say my snatches, I was not really super appreciating the moment at the time, but I know when I went out for my second clean and jerk, I was just so happy to be there. Because I couldn't believe I was doing it. I couldn't believe I was at a national meet again. And that was a post-surgery PR that I really just wanted to hit on the stage at the Arnold. 90 would have been nice, but I wasn't doing that great, like body injury wise. So it is what it is. But I was so happy to be there when it got to clean and jerk snatches. I was kind of disappointed. But again, I can't be that disappointed. I always think about earning things, and I think about, did I earn a 70 snatch? Like, should I have been able to make that? In my opinion, no, because I hadn't been training pretty much for a month prior. So it would have been nice to make it. I always love those lucky lifts that you don't really earn in the gym, but you somehow make it competition. But I think I earned my 86 clean and jerk, and I think 90 would have been a lucky one that I didn't quite earn. So I always think of my lifts in terms of have I earned this lift in the gym? Yes, let's go make it. Have I earned this lift in the gym? No, but I'm going to go out there and give it my all because I can try and I have that ability to make crazy lifts from time to time. Doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does.
Right.
And
So I have a
yeah,
question
sorry.
actually.
Yeah,
So in both of these meets back, Maria, you've talked about how training wasn't ideal leading up to either of them. Like WSO, your goal was to go and make lifts. It was a month out and you just decided, screw it, everyone's doing it. I want to do it too. Um, and with the Arnold, like you just said, you basically weren't training for like a month leading up to it. And, you know, were there any points in time where you were like, I'm going to pull out because I'm not ready?
Okay. No, because that is one of the biggest things I learned from my shoulder injury, is that I need to take things day by day. When I hurt my back, it was January 28th ish or whatever the Monday of the last week of January was.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically like cried for a really long time, and then I took the day off of work. um, but also because I couldn't walk. It wasn't all emotional. Like I legit couldn't walk.
Sure.
And then after that Tuesday, I said, okay, I'm going to take it day by day and do what I can and see what happens. And I kept an open mind the whole time. I have a new mindset since my shoulder injury where it's kind of just like, I'm going to be realistic with myself and also know that there will always be more opportunities. Like I waited a year and a half to get my shoulder mobility back. If I can't do this one thing this one day, I'll have another chance. I've already waited over a year for something. I can wait a little bit longer. So I just said I'm going to take it day by day and I'm not going to write it off and I'll see what happens. And I was equally content. I would be fine if I had to pull out. I would get it and I would understand, and I would be fine if I had to compete. So that is kind of where my mindset was at leading into the Arnold. And I said, if it's not better, like a week out, then I'll pull out. But if I'm on the right track, then I'm doing it, even if my lifts won't be as heavy as I want them to be.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I think a lot of lifters make that mistake where they put so much pressure on a very specific performance that like when one little thing goes wrong in any time frame leading up to it, they want to derail themselves and say, I'm going to pull out, and it's very dramatic. And you know, you see it more in the younger lifters, but like I still see it with experienced lifters too. And so that just really speaks volumes to, you know, your maturity and growth throughout this whole process.
And I just want to point out, like there are undoubtedly many ways in which this process has helped you grow in multiple different fashions. But confidence is not something that you just like develop since this shoulder thing. Because during my internet sleuthing or researching, whatever they're calling it, I came across a post that you had made after your great performance in the 2021 Nationals. And it was a really fascinating look into, I think, your mentality and what makes you successful, both as an athlete and as I'm sure in anything else that you do. You had made this post about a terrible session that you had the Monday before that Nationals. And the point of the post was that like this was a really shitty session and I got really down about it. But then I decided that I wasn't going to defeat myself. Like if I went out at Nationals and I couldn't lift the weights because I wasn't strong enough or my technique wasn't sharp enough, that was going to be one thing, but I wasn't going to defeat myself mentally. And I've got to imagine that kind of mental strength, that foundation of mental strength helped you through this entire process, to include the Arnold, but helped you throughout the entire way. And I'm curious from your standpoint or your perspective, how did you develop that degree of mental fortitude? I mean, that is relatively uncommon, not just for lifters, but frankly for many people.
I think it really is a personality feature, not a bug. For myself, I remember growing up as a gymnast. I developed my confidence through repetition, repetition, repetition. I wouldn't leave the gym until everything I did was perfect. I wouldn't move on from one event to another until everything I did was perfect. I wouldn't I wouldn't move on from anything until I had the confidence that I could do this skill or this routine or this whatever 100% of the time. And then obviously things don't go to plan always. You can't do everything 100% of the time. So I think as a gymnast, when I was younger, reconciling that fact, like, oh, I had a terrible practice, but think about all the other reps I've done. I can go into this meet and nail my routines. That is the mindset I developed from a very young age. And that is the mindset I take with me to weightlifting too. The hard part for me is with weights I've never done before, because my whole confidence is built around, sure, I've done this 1,000 times, or I've done this. I know I can do this. I know I can do this. But when it's weights that I haven't done before or haven't done in a long time, that is when my confidence gets more shaky, I would say. But like I said, I've proven to myself in weightlifting that I can do weights that I've never hit before on the big stage. But that is what I'm working on mentally now, just realizing that it doesn't have to be an everyday number for me to be able to hit it at a big meet. So yeah, I think it just comes from years of gymnastics moving into years of CrossFit, moving into years of weightlifting, just understanding myself as an athlete and knowing that the work I put in does directly translate to my competition results.
And that no one session dictates how a competition is going to go.
No.
Yeah.
And that is something I've gotten even better with after my injury, because before my shoulder, I would get really down about having bad sessions. Like day to day, I would get really down about having a bad session. But then when I would go to the meet, I would be like, oh, those sessions don't matter. And then I'd be able to do a relatively good performance. Now I have a bad session and I'm like, oh, this one doesn't matter. Throw it away. I'll do better next time. And I don't even get upset about it anymore because A, I know it doesn't matter. And B, I'm truly just happy to be here at this point.
Do you have any parting wisdom, advice, whatever you want to call it, for anyone who's about to go into a major surgery? But I don't know if you had anyone specific in mind. I certainly don't. But just like if you've got any guidance or advice, someone out there surely is preparing for that moment and would appreciate it.
Well, certainly. I wonder who could benefit from any of this advice. I think the best thing for me, and maybe anyone out there would find this helpful as well, is truly accepting where you are when you're there, if that makes sense. So if you are in pain because surgery is painful, at least mine was, it was very painful to recover. Just say, all right, I'm in pain now. This is not forever. Or, all right, I can't sleep now because my shoulder hurts. This is not forever. I can't straighten my arm or lift my arm. This is not forever. So just keep thinking, like, it really truly sucks. And if someone told me this while I was in my recovery era, I would have been like, shut up. But hopefully, like, pre-surgery, you can start thinking about this. Just keep reminding yourself it's not forever, and it definitely sucks in the moment. No one's saying it doesn't suck. It does. But yeah, day by day, moment by moment. Hey, I made it through this 60 seconds. Let's see if I can make it through the next 60 seconds. Little tiny goals like that really helped me through staying present.
Great. Abby, have any other questions for Maria?
No, that was great.
Maria, do you have any questions for us?
Gosh, I should have prepared something. No, I appreciate the opportunity to be on here. Steve, I know you're competing where are you competing next?
I'm gonna be like the opening act for Big Jake at the Spring Fling.
Nice.
Down at East Coast
Okay.
School.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I have a bad history with anything at East Coast Gold, so I don't go to those meets anymore.
Okay.
Every time I sign up, this is a superstitious thing now, but every time I sign up for an East Coast Gold weightlifting meet, I either like get injured or get sick or have like a family emergency, and like I've never been able to go to it. So I just stopped signing up for them now. But I'll be looking for you there. That'll be great. And then Abby, what's your recovery timeline? I think you might have mentioned it, but I forgot.
So honestly, I got really lucky because it's literally just bone fragments and bone spurs that are getting cleaned up and removed. So it's 6 to 12 weeks because there's no ligament or joint damage, which
Nice.
again, I got so lucky. So 6 to 12 weeks of PT. But like they haven't really given me a firm timeline. I guess it's all gonna kind of depend on like how much they have to do in there. I don't try to pretend like I know anything about the medical field. Like I do mortgages, and so like it's funny, like I'll try to read the paper, the results from my CAT scan and like look at the images and I'm like, yep, that is an elbow. There it is. So like I don't know.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, best wishes, and I can't wait to see you back out there
Thank
too
you.
with
I
that
appreciate that.
straight elbow. That's going to be so crazy.
The judges won't know what to do.
They are gonna
I
be
know.
like, wait, what? She fixed it? They're gonna be so grateful.
I
How'd
hope
she
the
do it?
judges are like, oh, she was faking it the whole time.
Yeah.
I knew her elbow was straight.
Yeah, no, I definitely was not faking it, and like I've had some people in my corner who've been screaming at me for forever to like get this done, and so, to those people, I'm sorry that it's taken me this long, but thank you for screaming at me and maybe when I haven't wanted to hear it. So, shout out to them.
Shout out to the screamers.
Yeah.
All right.
It'll
Well,
be good.
Yeah.
all right. Well, Maria, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Super cool for everybody to hear. I can't wait for the show after Cap City when we get to talk about how awesome you did and how you're going back to Nationals. And then I can't wait for Abby to commentate your session at Nationals and talk about live, hopefully like courtside, not in office,
And not in the
about
closet
like
this time.
how great you're doing out on the stage.
Right.
But all that is still to come. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you guys in a couple weeks.